start of the 10.
Good morning.
Hey.
Hi, and
Hello.
a warm welcome to our very first broadcast of 2022. My name's Jill Hawkins. I am your host this morning. I'm joined by Phil, who's our online pastor.
Hey everyone, Happy New Year to you. Really looking forward to connecting with you over this year. So be getting your phones on, pulling up that YouTube channel, and let's talk to each other.
And I'm also joined by Caroline.
Happy New Year to you and to you.
And I think you've got a question for us, haven't you?
I
What's the
do.
question?
So it's a new year. We're in 2022. Doesn't quite feel like a new year yet.
No.
So we're taking stock today about looking back and looking forward. And so the question is, what are your hopes for 2022? It's quite a big question. So you might want to think about it personally. You might want to think about what are your hopes for the local community, or what are your hopes for the world. So take that as you will. What are your hopes for 2022?
So to give you a little bit to chew on, maybe I think we're going to have a little go at that, because I think sometimes we step into a new year, there's a little bit of trepidation, and then maybe having had 2021 and even 2020, there's a bit of trepidation for all of us. Yeah. So we've had a few minutes to think about it. Phil, do you want to kick us off? What are your hopes for 2022?
So I'm going to be cheeky and put in two. So first of all, one is on a sort of personal health level. So last year I had 2 operations on my back that affected how particularly my left leg works. And so one of my big hopes for 2022 is to get this leg back to full health, and that will take quite a long time. A lot of effort, a lot of squats, all right, but hopefully we'll get there. And the other hope is that part of my job did involve quite a lot of travel, and I haven't really traveled for almost 2 years, and really missing it, and got a lot of expectant people out there really wanting us to visit, so really would love to travel this year. What about you, Jill?
Yeah, Zoom's been good, but
Zoom,
it'd be nice to see people face to face. Well, actually, I've got a bit of a out of 2021 into 2022, because one of my highlights of 2021 was an adventure. I did a long walk from Winchester to Canterbury all on my own, and it felt like much more of an adventure than I'd realised it was going to be. And so I've got a little bit of a hope in 2022 that there'll be some kind of adventure for me. Yeah. What about you, Karen?
Well, again, I've got a couple. I'm not just hopeful, I'm expectant.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm 7 months pregnant, nearly. So one of my hopes is that obviously that all happens in a healthy and happy way, but really just hoping that I have some really special time with our child and enjoy that kind of family time and the new parent phase. But
When's the due date?
The middle of March,
Middle
or just
of
say
March.
March.
Oh,
Just March.
All right.
And then the other thing, maybe a bit more frivolous, is some travelling as well. I would love to go somewhere hot. So I'm hoping for some sun this year.
Actually, we were looking at family photographs last night of us bathed in sunshine. I realised how much I'm missing a little bit of warmth on my skin. Yeah. Right, so we're now going to go over to our band. We've got the lovely Mark Hopley with Larry and Chris and Jane, and they are going to treat us to a song now. Mark.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to sing Strength Will Rise, and I think it's a good song to sing in the new year as we're thinking about all the good things we're going to do in 2022, but it's just a reminder that strength comes when we wait on God, when we are in His presence, when we just be with Him, and not just being busy, but just being and spending time and enjoying His presence. So let's sing together. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer.
Guys, thank you so much. I think that was a really apt song because it is actually hard, I think, having lived the couple of years that we've lived, to set that question, what are your hopes? Because there are some of us that in reality, as the year turns, it's hard to find hope. And I think that's the difference when you're living a life of faith, because there's a difference between wishful thinking and living a life of faith. That when we talk about hope, we're not talking about wishful thinking or positive thinking or trying to force our minds into another format. Really, what we're talking about is being before God and bringing, as Mark was just singing, our weakness, our need for comfort, our brokenness to God, and letting him bring his hope into our heart. What do you think? Have you got anything online?
Well, we've got Peter, his hope, definitely hoping for a more normal year in 2022. I think we can all relate to that. Steve likes the sound of an adventure.
Yeah.
Up for that. And an adventure with others. So I think people are maybe a little bit bleary-eyed this morning. Guys, get on the phones. Let's hear some more comments that I can pass on by the end of today's programme. All right.
Okay, cool. And now we're going to come to you, Caroline, for the high five.
Yeah, so this morning we are coming into the day, certainly for me anyway, I anticipated this, and it is actually how I feel, woozy. I think I said this a few weeks ago. I said the first Sunday people are always woozy. And sometimes...
Can you say something about how I look?
No, of course not. But some of you might be feeling like that, and hopefully not because you had too much to drink at New Year, although who knows. Yes. Certainly not me anyway. I just was on the J2Os. But there's this kind of, for me, there's this a sense of a bit of a hangover. And this is partly because when I open my fridge, I'm confronted by lots of cheese. That's that overpowering smell of cheese and me thinking, I don't want any more cheese. And I don't want any more J2Os with glitter in them. It's a new year. You know, that was lovely while it lasted, but I just want some salad now. So there's a bit of that sort of sense of wooziness from that, but also just this sort of disorientation, really, that so much of our thinking, so much of our time is headed towards Christmas and getting things ready for Christmas. And then Christmas happens, and it might have been the Christmas you were hoping for, or it could be a little bit like me, where COVID kind of came and disrupted things. And either way, there can be the sense of anticlimax and disorientation. Oh, everything that I was thinking about has kind of happened, and now what? And for me, there's this kind of tug of war, because, like we've been saying, actually, for I think probably for most of us, 2021 and 2022 have been really heavy years. Globally, as a church, many of us will have experienced losses in different forms over the last few years, and there's just an awful lot to process. And so then coming into the new year, where you want to be optimistic and hopeful and get onto the salad rather than the cheese, and not have all those sweet things anymore, and just want the newness, the shininess of a new year, there is this kind of tug of war. And this morning is really about taking that deep breath, where we're able to kind of exhale some of the hard things from the previous year and deeply breathe in the presence of God. Remember who we are, remember who he is, and for that to set our course. And so we're looking today really about setting our perspective for the year. And there are three things from a passage we're going to be looking at later, which hopefully will be something to tuck away in your back pocket for during this year. And there's three things I'm going to quickly talk about. The first is that we're loved. We're loved and we're chosen and we belong in the family of God before we have done anything. Whether it's making mistakes or huge achievements, kind of separate from that, we're loved, we're chosen, we're wanted by God, we've got a seat at his table. And that means we don't need to earn anything, and it can give you that sense of, okay, this is good. Even if I do nothing this year, and of course we will all achieve things, but if I did nothing, I would still be loved, I'd still be chosen, I'd still be welcome. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I find immensely reassuring is that God has a plan. And when our news feeds are exploding with all kinds of terrible things in the world, or when the curveball comes, the announcement at work of a restructure, or news of our family, a death in the family or something like that, it can feel like everything is kind of at sea and all is lost. And what we can be confident of is that God has a plan, that he is bringing everything to completion, and that he is working and can work all of our difficult situations into something good. And then the final thing is actually that we're created to be with God. We're created to be with him. And so all of our agenda, all of our plans, all of our hopes or our wishes can sometimes be a little bit random. You know, what is it that's motivating our New Year's resolutions? Is it because we feel like we should be doing something, or we've been told we should do something, or because we think it's going to kind of enrich our status or value? But really, the thing that sets our goals is this reality that we are made to be with God, to be in relationship with him. And that is the one thing that should really chart our course, and everything else fits around that. So those are the three things, and you're going to hear a bit more about them later on, but I hope that that brings some perspective as we start this new year.
Caroline, I love that. I love that. You know, we talk about that at Jesus' baptism. Before he'd done anything, the Father says, "This is my Son that I love." And then he extended that through the life of Christ, and he extended it through the whole of humanity. He says, you know, before you draw a breath, before you achieve or fail, before you're strong or weak, I love you. What a fantastic message for the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Caroline, thank you. It brought to mind when you were talking about God's plan for our life. Over the Christmas break, you know, I happened to be on Facebook and saw an article coming through that was about kind of success, looking at success going into next year. And they'd done some research about it. And of course, we hear all the time that these kind of really successful, wealthy people, they made it happen, all right? They went after it, they were dogged, they were determined, and they made it happen. And interestingly, what the article said was that, of course, they did energize themselves to go and do that. But actually, even in your billionaire people, the role of other people in their lives and the role of things that were outside of their control actually had a lot more influence than their self-drive. All right, and I thought that was really, really interesting because I don't know. Our viewers, some of you might be thinking, right, 2022, I am going to make it happen, all right? And you got to kind of stoke the fire within and like, right, I am going to make it happen. And yeah, you can do that, but that can also generate quite a lot of stress and inner turmoil and changes to plans and COVID and that kind of thing. And the three of us, we just want to say to you that when you are accepting that God has a plan on your life, just that inner stress just is reduced so much, isn't it?
There's a freedom, isn't there?
Yeah.
In knowing that a sovereign God with unbelievable power has got a plan.
Yeah.
It's not about us generating it, making it happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Guys, and any other online activity?
We have, yeah. So thanks ever so much for everyone for chipping in. We've got young Harry, who's hoping he'll finally get his driving license.
Yay!
Yes,
we hope that too.
Yes, that's our son. Okay. Robin hoping to buy their first home.
Ooh,
Wow,
that's exciting.
Wow, that's
Nice.
a great hope, isn't it? Nikki hoping for people to discover the beauty and benefits of starting their days at 5:30 in the morning.
That's optimistic.
Yeah, I don't think I want
right.
to discover that.
She says, God loves to talk to you early in the morning and the day is so much more productive. All right. We might have to do a session on that. Giles, having a greater sense of God's purpose in our lives and discovering that each day. And yeah, just encouragement about the opener from you, Caroline, and finding this really, really helpful.
Yeah,
So,
great. So that was really a flavour of what we're about to have in our 10:30 service. Our sign-up isn't actually full, so if you're local and you want to put on your shoes and head down to the building,
come on down.
You can come. The service starts round about 10:30, and you'll be able to listen to the full Caroline later on. If you want to join us online, it is going to be a little bit earlier than usual. Caroline's going to be speaking about 11:15 rather than 11 o'clock. If you log on at 11, it'll probably be loaded and you'll be listening to a recording. But if you come at 2:15 on YouTube, you'll be able to listen live. But if you're able to come to the service or join us on Zoom, we're going to be having communion. We're going to be having some time to reflect on last year and dream with God for next year. So thanks very much for joining us. It's been really good. Take care.
And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.